Hey everybody, gonna have a little chat about my waterfall tank here this evening. I need to get some work done on it, and I want to talk about it a little bit. I've had a lot of people over the past several months ask me if I would talk about how I built this and how I put it all together. And I've been reluctant to do so because it's not a way that I would have wanted it to be put together. This is really not how I would recommend doing it for anybody. But I will go over a little bit of that tonight. Again, we're just going to have sort of a chat about what's going on with it. And first we will talk about why I've got all that nasty white stuff hanging there. That is just filter material. It's the polyester batting. And the reason I hung it there was because the water was overflowing so vigorously that it was splashing on a rock down here. And I mean, it was like splashing. This whole log was wet. Everything down here was wet. The carpet was wet. And it was too much. I had to do something about it. So for temporary purposes, I just hung that batting in there just to catch the water, and it's only been there for maybe 4 days now, and you can already see how kind of gross it looks. It's got really nasty green growing on the surface of it. Let's see what it looks like if we pull it out of there, and you can kind of see how it almost looks like it's been acting like a filter. And it's just these two pieces. So we will go ahead and set them right there for the time being. That's not going to hurt anything as long as that water is dripping into the tank down there. So now you can see what I'm talking about, even with the filter fairly clogged up. And when I'm saying the filter, I mean the actual filter in the pump. And by being clogged up, it's reducing the flow of water. So even with that reduced flow of water, we're still getting water hitting right on that rock. So I'm probably going to have to remove that rock. I mean, look at this. So that's how much water. I mean, it's spraying like a sprinkler out here. And I'm assuming it's just because it's splashing off of this rock. So let's go ahead and pick this up for the time being. As you can see, I don't mess around when I put rocks and stuff in my aquariums. I get the big stuff. So let's put this over here for the time being. And now we've got more of a pool for the water to splash down into, so that's okay. Makes it noisier. One of the things I wanted to talk about in this update is this plant that I put in here. Let me move this light out of the way. I just have a bar up here that I've got it hanging on, and I just moved it over, pushed it out of the way like that. So this plant here is growing like gangbusters. I wasn't really sure what it was. I was not expecting it to look like this. I was actually thinking it was going to look more like a butterfly bush or something. Not really sure why I thought that, but it is growing like gangbusters. You can see all this growth coming off of it down here, and all of those roots growing. So that is going to be a big, interesting looking plant. And then the other new plants that I've added are my water lily, and you can already see I've got leaves. They're not lily pads necessarily, but the leaves have actually made it to the surface already. And I'm actually kind of disappointed. I got this water lily because I didn't want the sort of exotic look of my red tiger lotus. And while it does look a little different, you know, it doesn't look that different. I mean, this has a little more red speckling to it, but really that's not a whole lot different. So whatever that is, I was sold as red tiger lotus. I've got that, and then I've got it over here, although at the moment I cut it way back and there's not a whole lot going on in there, but you can still see that looks pretty much like the same stuff if you ask me. And I paid red tiger lotus prices at the fish store for this stuff. And then I paid $8 for a water lily at the Home Depot for this one. So we'll see. But this one's going to be above ground. It's going to, above the surface. I'm going to actually let it do its surface thing. And hopefully we'll be able to get some flowers on it. If you look closely, you can see all of this area in here. Look at all those leaves. That had one or two little leaves sticking off of it when I put it in the tank about I don't know, a week ago, week and a half ago. It hasn't been long, and it's already got all that growth on the bottom, and I've already got leaves floating on the surface. So that's exciting. Hopefully we'll see some flowers on there, and theoretically it will look something like this. This is just a floating flower that came with it, so you'd have an idea of what to expect. So hopefully it'll look something similar to that. And once I get a little more leaves on the surface, a lot of this is going to go. Most of this is going to go anyway, because it's this horrible duckweed that I put in here once upon a time. And once you put duckweed in one of your tanks, you never get duckweed out of your tanks. Or you can, but it's a lot of work, and I have not gotten around to doing it yet. So all of this green matting, all that's going to come out, and then that floating water sprite's going to come out, and we're going to have the water lilies in there instead. So the other thing I want to do, and I need to do with this tank, is figure out what's going on up here. This is designed so that most of the water should flow down this end, sort of cascade down into this area, flow down this way, and then into that pool. And if I sort of clog up this end, I can get just a little bit of overflow to give me this sort of effect, which I like. But the way it's working, it's kind of backwards. Most of my water is coming over here, and I'm only getting a little bit of the flow coming over this way. See, if you look in there, you can actually see the water flow, but it's not a lot. You know, that's where the bulk of the water should be flowing, not across here. And again, this is because the filter right now, let's pull it out of here and I'll show it to you. That's what the filter looks like right now. It's just a solid chunk of, if I can get it out of there, it's almost a solid wad. So we'll stick that right there too. And now look, within seconds, you see a huge increase in how much water is flowing through there. So I've got to do something about that. I've got to get this top area all fixed up. Now I did go through there sort of preliminarily and try to move some stuff around, and all that really did was bust the joint up. Everything up here is all messed up, and all of the woods moved around, and I'm still getting all of the flow coming across here. So at some point I need to get up here and really rummage around through all that crap and get that cleared out. I got to figure out what else I'm going to do over here, because this area is a pretty deep basin as well. And right now I've got it all full of stuff, but it doesn't serve any purpose. I've got a flower pot in there with nothing in it. I've got rocks in there and wood in there you can't even see. And it really just sort of serves to clog the whole thing up. So I think I'm going to pull that top layer apart and get in there and sort of redo it. Again, I'm not really sure what it's going to look like, but this really is concerning me. All of this white area here, all this white, you can see. That is the stuff that is not, see, that's how you get your duckweed transferred from tank to tank. The stuff just sticks to you and you don't think about it, and you stick your hand in another tank and you got duckweed in your other tank. So I did stick a couple of these in there. I'm not 100% sure what they are. I'm trying to get this to root in down here as well, and then this will curl around and do its thing and go wherever it's going to go. I think that is some species of euonymus. I'm almost positive it's a euonymus, but it grows in a sort of dense, bushy, low-growing, almost like a ground cover. It's sort of a viney, creeping sort of plant. So we'll see what that does and see how that looks. But in the meantime, I need to get up here and do something with what's going on in there. And then I guess from there we will wait and see. I don't really know what else I need to do to it just yet. But that's going to be what I try to get done this evening. Although it is getting late, and I don't know if I'm going to have time to get it all done or not. But anyway, make sure you're subscribed, and then that way you won't miss anything I got coming up. Like I say, I'm going to get in here and try to get some work done on this tonight, and we'll see how it goes. So if you're subscribed, maybe tomorrow or the next day, we'll get some updated video on this tank, and we'll see what we do about all this. Although, now that it's not splashing off of that rock the way it was anymore, I'm actually kind of digging it like that. I like the vigorous flow over there, sort of falling into that basin back there. That's not too bad. Yeah. It's Squeaker just stuck his head in and said hello and then turned around and ran back out the door. So there you go. I didn't really get into discussing how I built this, but I built it in a very haphazard way. It is made out of expandable foam, chicken wire, wood, tape, cloth material. This cloth material is actually holding a bunch of this expandable foam in, and I sort of put it together as I went along. I'm not really good at planning things out. I kind of build it as I go, and as a result, I got this sort of monstrosity here that is made out of about 50 cans of the expandable foam. And like I said, I would do this so much differently. One of these days I'll sit down and I'll do a whole video on how I exactly put this together and what I would do differently. That should be what the video is not necessarily how I built it, but how I would do it differently the next time, which hopefully I will be able to do in the fairly near future, because I really like this setup. I like having this large paludarium. I've always wanted like a big full sort of waterfall. But this just is not tenable. As time goes on and the roots of this stuff grows and gets more vigorous, it's probably going to start poking holes in the soft rubber I've got up there. But I did learn a lot. I did come up with a few techniques of my own that I figured out how to make this and waterproof it and everything. And so hopefully those techniques can come in handy for some other things, and we will get into talking about them. If you're interested, look at my Waterfall Tank playlist. And if you go back, I've got videos all along the way of the process as I was building it, and all my little attempts and failures, and the way I used my silicone and made paint out of it and dyed it and painted the whole thing. So it's all there. You just got to do a little digging around and looking through some of the videos. Again, look at my Waterfall Tank playlist, and again, if you're subscribed, you won't miss anything else I got coming up on this tank or anything else. So thanks for watching this one. Hope I didn't ramble too much there. This was kind of spur of the moment, but I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again for watching.